through me. Blink through, weak on you. Oh, baby. Got 3. This Prismatic Hunter build I've created is nearly untraceable. After a lot of experimentation, I firmly believe that this is the best way to be playing the Prismatic Hunter, given that should you execute correctly, your opponent's not going to know what hit them. This build is highly disruptive, evasive, and it utilizes every high impact movement ability both in combat and for speed with map control, rotations, and timings. It's good at breaking stalemates with a strong entry ability to cause chaos, quick repositioning, and radar manipulation to draw enemies out. Each of the abilities can shut down and counter over aggression as well, something I personally value a lot, and apply pressure with its quick repositioning. The key components of our build is going to be Mask of Baccaris accompanied with Blink for multiple avenues to blink, and Grapple to give us an additional movement option or speed boost. We're going to utilize the Smoke Snare Bomb and Threaded Spectre for different forms of radar manipulation, and top that off with Stylus Executioner and Facet of Solitude for an avenue to invisibility and information. As for weapons, you have a lot of freedom of choice, but you mainly want to look for arc or stasis weapons to utilize the Baccaris damage buff. Conditional Finality feels like a non-decision with this, given that it can trigger both Stylish Executioner off a kill and inherits the Baccaris damage buff. There are two main sides of this build, the movement side and the radar manipulation side. Of course, the abilities can be used individually and interchangeably, but this is the best way to go about thinking of your toolbox in the build. Let's start with the movement side. A combination of Baccaris, Blink, and Grapple is our main movement abilities. Blink is an incredibly strong movement ability that, while it does take a lot of getting used to, and I'm not gonna lie to you, it will take time to learn, it has an incredibly high skill ceiling. It allows you to move through cover without exposing yourself, which can apply pressure to an opponent. It allows you to quickly and repeatedly reposition, and this gets really powerful when you utilize your short hop to interact with your opponents and then blink, let's say, back into cover. At the very least, this is here because there is no speed exotic on this build, but instead, Blink replaces it as it's faster than the speed exotics, allowing you to get the best timings possible to the lanes you need to challenge. A big downside of Blink, of course, is the fact that you have to be in the air and prime your jump to use it, but that's where Mask of Baccaris comes in. We have a horizontal blink, if you will, that has a greater distance and repositioning ability than the blink jump itself, but when combined with it, allows you to do quite a lot in different engagements, and again, the whole point is to limit your opponent's ability to actually interact with you while doing these movements. Baccaris serves as your super blink, if you will. Mostly whatever Blink can do, it can do more significantly. Its repositioning is insanely strong. It can be used mid-combat with little downtime to essentially guarantee a fight as well. It can also be used as a get-out-of-jail-free card, allowing you to make riskier plays and get out back into safety. The combination of Mask of Baccaris and Blink truly is the piece that lets you be so disruptive in fights and really cause chaos for your opponents. Now that we have a kit that facilitates Mask of Baccaris that includes radar manipulation, I don't see myself ever taking it off. To top off our strong Blink combo, we have Grapple, and while you can of course still use Swarm Grenades, as that's been a popular choice, but personally I'm not willing to give up the insanely strong combo that is Grapple and Blink. Blink basically removes nearly every downside of Grapple while simultaneously creating, I think, what could be the fastest movement speed from neutral in PvP. Simply put, Grapple very quickly gives Blink maximum momentum for a launch, while Blink hides the grapple point so it's not telegraphed. The most lethal combo these movement abilities can produce together is going for a grapple and then quickly blinking as your entry into an enemy area, or ideally behind an enemy. Again, this is going to quickly hide the grapple point so it won't be as telegraphed, and you're blinking in, so it's going to be really awkward for them to trace you. But even after blinking, you still get a lot of time to actually utilize a grapple melee, which is really insane. So out of your blink, you're going to grapple melee someone. They're already not going to know what hit them, but just to make it worse, you're going to super blink with your backers out of the fight, dropping the clone in front of them, leaving them dazed and confused, not knowing what hit them or where you went, just left with a clone that probably will blow up on them while you get into safety, or trying to deal with another target simultaneously, and you can go about the encounter as you will after that. Just this combo is incredibly disruptive, nearly impossible to track it feels like, and it's guaranteed of course to get you back your smoke bomb to keep utilizing for different targets and dealing with multiple individual targets on the team. You can really dismantle teams with this combo alone. Now you might be wondering why not add Winter Shroud over Stylish Executioner for this, but I think that leans a little too hard into just this combo alone. And on top of it, I do think it's win more. They're already so disoriented in dealing with the clone and trying to track you. So I think that Stylish Executioner is a little bit better, because if you do convert on your grapple melee kill, you are going to be able to go invisible and get the wall hacks out of this, which again allows you to get out potentially, stay off radar, and get a lot of information for your team, or just how to keep dismantling the opponent's team. But that's a perfect transition into the radar manipulation end of the build. For that, of course, we have the Smoke Bomb or Snare Bomb, Stylish Executioner with the Facet of Solitude, and our Threaded Spectre clone. Of course, the clone's a full decoy and it does ping the radar on top of have all the traits of ourselves. And we have the Smoke Bomb as just an additional radar ping to work with, so we can make our single player feel a lot bigger against an enemy team, or perhaps make them think that we're split out of position and gain some space with this. And that's the main power of radar manipulation, being able to either make yourself look a lot bigger or draw out enemies into poor positions and earn yourself space. Threaded Spectre is perfect with Backrest because it's already hard enough to track the reposition of the Backrest light shift, and leaving a clone there that has all those player traits just adds to the chaos and leaves them questioning which one's you even for a half second, and probably have to deal with that clone upon your reposition as well. It simply adds more to mess with your opponent's head than you're already doing with Backrest alone, which is pretty wild to think about. Even outside of combat, using your clone as a full decoy, it's not even bad to backer, simply because it's going to get you out of that radar distance a lot of the time very quickly and get you that right position that you need to have them questioning which ping is actually you. When you throw Smoke Bomb into the mix, it's another layer of that to continue them questioning which one of the pings is you. Stylish Executioner is the last layer of radar manipulation, and while it is on kill, it does help quite a bit in 1vx scenarios or just gaining key information to push an advantage with your team. Combined with Facet of Solitude with certain weapons detailed in a pretty good Kamikakes video that I'll link, it allows you to trigger it off of maybe even one kill. But even if you don't use one of those weapons on multiple targets, it has a pretty generous window for how long you have to spray transfer to a different target, trigger Facet of Solitude, and then if you get the kill, you'll get Stylish. Invisibility is yet another layer of radar manipulation to play with the smoke and the clone, and because of Facet of Solitude, it requires us doing not much different other than shooting well and playing smart. Not to mention that Backrest does not cut out invisibility, so you can reposition really quickly off the radar. Using Backrest, of course, does mean we have to use Silence of Squall, but I don't think that's a bad thing. Silence of Squall is a pretty decent super and got a buff, actually. And while Storm's Edge kind of has stolen the show, I, after using it quite a bit, don't think it's quite as strong. Like, I have it pretty solved how to beat it, especially with Blink. Finally, for our fragments, honestly, you have a lot of freedom of what to choose. The only mandatory one is going to be Facet of Solitude. It's really your choice what you choose after that in terms of stat fragments. The only negative that I use that has an effect is Facet of Dawn for the Radiant melee, but this Radiant effect only lasts for 5 seconds. For my specific fragments choice though, I use Ruin, plus 10 mobility, Dawn for radiant melee, Justice for +10 intellect, Solitude to trigger stylish, and Facet of Defiance for +10 recovery. As far as weapons, we really want to be utilizing the backrest damage buff. As far as primaries go, with the backrest buff, you're looking for 2 different types of weapons. Either one that backrest just tips it enough already to get a fast time to kill. A great example is the Syncopation Pulse. It's craftable and stasis. The backrest buff alone will allow it to 2-tap. Maybe even the new Sightline Survey, a 180 hand cannon that with the backrest buff will 3-tap, and when combined with Precision Instrument will do so regardless of resilience. Pretty strong. Or you're looking for a weapon archetype that is maybe a little bit better inherently, but with a kill perk and backrest tips it to be insanely strong. The Prophet is a trial scout that gets kill clip, and while it's normally res gated, backrest will make it so that the kill clip is not res gated and always 2-taps. Even a shotgun, my Fractathist with the backrest buff allowed me to completely map players. Shotgun kills I don't think I should be getting. And as I mentioned at the start of the video, for that reason, Conditional Finality being a stasis shotgun feels like it's a no-brainer. The already best shotgun that can map people gets even better. And if you land all your pellets, you're getting Stylish Executioner off of it. For me, that's my main choice. And while it isn't an arc or stasis weapon, the BXR-55 Battler is great with this build because of its blunt execution rounds perk. By simply landing a melee hit, that could be even from our grapple melee or our smoke bomb, we can 2-burst a full health guardian, and when combined with one of those abilities I mentioned, it's a very quick 1-burst cleanup. Finally, as far as stats go, I like to take 10 mobility, 2 resilience, 10 recovery, 10 discipline, as high intellect as I can get, so that's about 7 or 8 with this build, and as low strength as I can get. That seems to be tier 1. 10 mobility for the fastest dodge cooldown possible, especially since we have that light shift lockout with backrest. 2 resilience because this is the lowest you can safely go, and I don't find resilience to be very useful in the metagame right now. 10 recovery to give us the most uptime in fights, 10 discipline to give us the best uptime on our grapple to use in and out of combat. 7 intellect is one of the highest you can go without getting severe diminishing returns, and then as low strength as possible so that we can put those stats into the intellect and discipline we'd rather value, given that we'll be using Gambler's Dodge a lot of the time to get our smoke back. So there you have it. That is the complete main build for Prismatic Hunter I'll be running. There's a few more that I'd like to go over, but I really think this one is the most powerful, utilizing backrest, blink, and many forms of radar manipulation. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.